Well, it's October, fall is officially here, and the garden season is quickly winding down, sadly. While some of my perennials are looking kind of sad and winding down, some of my annuals are still looking really great. So today I thought I would take you around and show you some of my annuals that have been my top performers of this past 2023 gardening season, and definitely ones that I will be planting in my garden next year. One of my very favorite annuals from this year are my Impatiens right behind me in this bed that gets a lot of shade during the day from the river birch trees overhead. Impatiens do great in a shady spot. They've been performing since probably the end of May, I believe I put them in. All I did was fill the hole with a little bit of Osmocote, and I haven't fertilized them at all since then. They really don't love to be over fertilized. You may end up with more green like foliage growth rather than the flowers, so I just leave them alone and let them do their thing, and they have just performed fantastic. I chose that bright array of colors to really make them pop in the shadier side. Last year I did like a pale pink back in here, and they just really didn't show up very well, so this year I wanted a lot of color in this shadier space. They're just a really great filler if you don't have a lot of perennials in your bed yet, which I don't. I plan to slowly add perennials, but I think that I will always add these Impatiens, probably in this really bright variety of colors, just to fill in that bare soil that can collect a lot of weeds, just help suppress the weeds. They're rather inexpensive too. I purchased 2 full trays at my local garden center, and I'm gonna say they were maybe $28 for those 2 trays. So definitely worth the money, and they've definitely improved over the years. They used to get powdery mildew, I forget exactly what it's called, but since the newer varieties came out, they have mine have shown no sign of disease at all. So really a beautiful choice for your shade gardens. The next plant that I am sitting by right here is a big leaf begonia. I have it tucked right in here by my Impatiens in a hanging basket that I never hung this year, unfortunately, but they are still doing fantastic sitting in this hanging basket, receiving a lot of neglect. I have barely watered this. I haven't ever fertilized it, and it is looking so beautiful. It's looking even better than the ones on my front porch that I have watered a lot and have fertilized. I probably should not have fertilized them out there, but it's just a very easy care, beautiful plant that performs so well from May until your frost. They just stay tidy, they don't get messy, the leaves don't get very crusty looking. They can get a little bit crusty if you have them in a little too much sun. They do really well in part sun to shade situation. I have a Rager begonia out in an urn on my front sidewalk, and that has gotten probably the most sun out of any of my begonias. It has gotten a little bit of that leaf tip burn, but it's been performing really well. It's super lush and full and showing signs of minimal damage and still looking really beautiful. So if you want something that is very easy to care for, doesn't require a lot of fertilizing or deadheading, maintenance in general, check out a big leaf begonia or a Rager begonia for your garden. If you have been following me for any length of time, you probably have seen me show my raspberry ripple zinnias that are just over here along the edge of the border. These beautiful pink and white colored zinnias. They have been an excellent performer. I direct seeded them in late May. They have been blooming since probably late June and have just been so vigorous and so beautiful. They have showed 0 signs of any fungal issues or powdery mildew, even now, which is the beginning of October. They look really pretty in the edge of the border. They're not really a cutting zinnia like a Benary's Giant or a State Fair mixed zinnia, but just really add a lot of beauty to the front of the border. I actually found mine at my local garden center, the Mill, if you're local here in Maryland. I know that they do sell them online at parkseed.com if you're interested in purchasing them from that company. I really just love them, and we'll definitely be adding these next year. And they have been completely rabbit resistant. I don't know why, but another perk, the rabbits loved all my other zinnias but left these completely alone. So another great benefit to the raspberry ripple zinnia. Moving just up the way from my raspberry ripple zinnias is my beautiful elephant ear. This is the Royal Aloha elephant ear, Royal Hawaiian Aloha elephant ear, and added such a beautiful texture to my garden this year and color. It has a beautiful deep purple greenish color to it and has beautiful just glossy leaves. I just love the way that it adds interest to my garden. That big bold leaf structure contrasts with all of the smaller leafed plants in my garden. So if I can figure out how to overwinter I think it's a corm, not a bulb. I could be wrong, but I always forget. I think it's a corm. If I can overwinter that successfully, then I will definitely be bringing these back out into my garden in the spring. This has been one of my favorite annuals of the year. This is the State Dalia, and I just love that beautiful orangish, almost corally color to the flowers. It's so unique and really stands out in my garden. I really enjoy the foliage on it. It's like a greenish purple color, almost like the elephant ears that I showed you. And it really blends in nicely with so many different perennials and annuals. That purpley foliage just really stands out and adds a lot of interest in my borders. I love the open center of this dahlia. It's really great for attracting pollinators because it's an open center. They can get to the pollen a whole lot easier than like a traditional dinner plate dahlia, something with a really closed, tight center. It's really been performing very nicely for about a month. They do bloom a little bit later in the season, but if you're patient and can wait for those blooms, I think that they're really well worth it. And because it is a single stem dahlia, they do require deadheading in order to keep on blooming. So it is best if you can keep up with that deadheading to promote lots of new blooms. But I will definitely be adding this into my garden again next year if I can successfully overwinter the tubers. Last year I wasn't so successful. I'm fairly new to dahlias and overwintering tubers, so I'm going to give it another go this year, and hopefully we'll be adding this again to my garden in 2024. Another one of my favorite annuals for this year is another dahlia. This is the Mystic Illusion Dahlia. It has been such a great performer all season long. It has been flowering since May. I did buy it pre-grown from a greenhouse, so that's probably why, but it has just been pumping out blooms ever since I bought it. It has required deadheading just like my State Dalia in order to keep blooming to its fullest potential, but just been such a beautiful addition to this garden, this border right here, mixed in with, I have a caramel heuchera down here and some lamb's ear and my little lime hydrangea. I also have some iris over here. I just think that all of those textures and colors really made for a really pretty combination. So I've been really pleased with this plant, and I would definitely recommend checking this one out for just that really unique added color, and not only in the flower but in the leaves, similar to the State Dalia. So again, if I can successfully overwinter the tubers over the winter time and bring them out again in the spring, I will definitely keep you updated and let you know, and you will find that out in 2024. This is an annual that is a little marginal in my zone. This is the Mystic Spires Blue Salvia. It technically is hardy in zones 7 to, I believe it's 10, but we are 7A, so I'm really on the border for that. Last year I did lose them. They did not come back for this year. So I am hopeful that maybe they'll come back this next year, but they may not. So I may need to treat them as an annual again. But they are such a great performer. They have just exploded in growth since I planted them in, I think, late May. I put these in the ground, and have just been a bee and butterfly magnet all season long. You can see probably behind me that the bees are still really loving this plant. They have such a pretty purple color and just make such a big statement in this border, and I love how they just kind of cascade over my zinnias and over my boxwood. They really give it just a really pretty cottagey feel back here. So if these don't come back, I will buy them again next year and put them in my garden. And I would highly recommend the Mystic Spires Blue Salvia if you're looking for a really great salvia to add to your garden. Another one of my favorite annuals for 2023 has been this Molina Flur Dahlia. Unfortunately, it is losing a lot of petals today. It lost a lot of its main branches during that tropical storm Ophelia that came through. So sadly, it's not looking quite as abundant as it has been. It has just really been super vigorous and pumping out blooms for probably 2 months now. It is almost taller than me. As you can see, it's huge and has a beautiful, like almost salmon-y pink color to it. I have noticed that the color changes. At times it was more of a pale yellow almost and a super pale pink, and then other times it was a lot more corally pink than that pale yellow or pale pink. So it kind of makes it a unique plant. But I will be cleaning these buds up, deadheading a little bit to try to get some more blooms out of it for the rest of the season. If you want a dahlia that flowers early and abundantly, then check out the Molina Flur Dahlia. Another one of my very favorite annuals from this year are my Impatiens. I have a big grouping of them out by my front porch, and I have a grouping right back here underneath my crepe myrtle behind my boxwoods. They have been so beautiful all season from May until now, and they really aren't showing any signs of decline yet. They are so vigorous and stand out so beautifully. I get so many compliments of my Impatiens on the front of my porch. They just really stand out and are really beautiful to look at. I think that next year I might play around with the colors a little bit, do a little bit of a different color scheme with some brighter pinks and purples and maybe some oranges, just to kind of change it up a little bit. But I just have enjoyed them so much. This variety right behind me is actually the vigorous variety. It is supposed to get taller and a little bit wider than the compact variety that I have out on my front porch. They haven't done that this year, I think because they're in too much shade. They do get a lot of shade back here under the crepe myrtle. I think if they were in more sun that they would probably have gotten taller. I was hoping that they would come over top of the boxwood, but they just didn't quite get there. The Impatiens are definitely something that I will be adding for many years to come. Another winner in my garden this year was this blue Geranium. It has been an incredible performer, been flowering strongly since May when I put them in the ground. I have not had to fertilize them at all. They require very little water. They are drought resistant and heat tolerant, and the bunnies have not touched them, which if you have followed me for a little while, you know that I struggle a lot with bunnies, especially this year. They mowed down everything, but they left these completely alone. So I was very grateful for that. But I just really like how they add this really pretty purple in front of the border next to my viburnum that are green all summer long. They're inexpensive. You just can't ask for more. They just blend really well with so many different kinds of plants. These will for sure be on my list for 2024. I think that I may incorporate them into my beds, my main flower walk bed that we just came from. I may pop a few in here and there up there and just kind of all throughout my garden. So check this out if you want something low maintenance and bunny resistant. And I can't go through the whole gardening season without showing you my incredible geranium. These geraniums, there are 3 geraniums in here, were overwintered last year. I actually left these in, or no, these were the ones that I overwintered in paper bags. I did the paper bag method where you take the geranium and just bare root and all, just put it upside down in a paper bag and I think I might have misted the roots twice over the winter, and then you take them out when the weather starts to warm and you put them in a pot of soil and let them regrow again. And this is what they turned into. I've never had geraniums this big. They are huge. I have fertilized these probably every 1 to 2 weeks. I give them some fertilizer. And also this spike plant right here was in a container as well over the winter. So that's why it's so ginormous. Also, it's huge. I'll probably have to get rid of this after this season. It's just getting so big. But I'm definitely going to overwinter my geraniums again. That saves so much money to not have to buy them every year. And they're so beautiful. They just look good all season. The foliage doesn't get yucky looking, and the flowers are easily deadheaded. You do need to deadhead them on a fairly regular basis in order to keep them blooming all season. But geraniums have always been a favorite of mine, so I will always have geraniums as an annual in my pots. Maybe not in my garden, but definitely in my pots for sure. This grouping of annuals right now looks so good. It's probably the best that they have looked all season long. I have some more blue ageratum down here, the same as what I have down in my other flower bed. Some things are just looking so good. Like my Supertunia Bordeaux, that's a proven winner's plant, is flourishing and just looking beautiful. I can't believe how well it's done all season. I've cut it back 2 times, and each time it is flushed back even more beautiful than before. It's not getting any ratty leaves. It's not showing signs of heat stress, which a lot of petunias tend to do. I really don't use a lot of petunias because of that reason, and I definitely don't use them in my flower beds because I just think they get ratty looking, and the bunnies tend to like them, the insects tend to like them, so I like to keep them contained in my containers. But I just think they are looking so beautiful right now. And next to my petunias, I have another geranium, and I did misspeak about my other geranium. I realized that geranium was the one that I left in a pot over the winter, and I transferred it into a bigger pot for the summer, so that's why it got so big. I don't know what I was thinking. But these are the ones that I overwintered in paper bags, and they still look really good, really pretty. I really like how these are kind of a salmon-y pink color, and they just are doing really well right now. And I have a pink mandevilla right here that has really taken off in the past month especially. I buy my mandevillas really small, so it takes them a while to get going, to climb up the trellis, but they're finally climbing up the trellis, and I just love how it's kind of climbing along my cafe lights and up the side of my house. I just think it's really pretty. I also have another sun patient in here, a white one. This was on my front porch, but it was getting a little too much sun, so I moved it to, it was getting a little too much shade, so I moved it to the deck so it could get some more sun and grow a little bit better. And of course, some fall vibes with the orangish mum and my super cow petunias with that pretty rusty orange color, and this yellow color I think goes really nice with the orange mum and the pinks and the purples. It's all looking really good. I hope that you enjoyed seeing all of my favorite annuals, my top performers for 2023. I'd love to hear what some of your favorite annuals were that you grew this year that did really well and are still looking really great. I hope that you guys have a great day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye. Another one of my favorite annuals for this year has been this Molina Flur Dalia. Unfortunately, it is losing a lot of petals right now. It lost a lot. Oh, hello. I'm in the middle of filming. You scared me. This is the Mystic Illusion Dahlia. It is so beautiful with this really bright yellow flower on it.